This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
I'm here.
All right, excellent. We All Be is under the help on the one and only, the truly honorable and beyond category, Judge Joe Brown. He's going to give us a lowdown of what's going on in the current media industry complex right now. He's going to put the spin on the news. He's going to make it plain and tell it like it is. How you doing tonight, sir?
All right, young man. I'm doing fine, young brother Hurd.
Yeah, I got to talk, man, 'cause I know people want to know what the judge be thinking on these current events going on, especially what's recently happened in your hometown of Los Angeles, in your old stomping grounds. So, over there in off Slauson. I guess some people
used to live a block off of Slauson, right off of Normandy.
Yes, sir. So you know that area very well, but we don't
know it real well.
That's why we got you on the phone.
Place in Normandy. Anyway, what's going on out there? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
A prominent rap artist got gunned down by somebody who had some personal animosity for him. It's a tragedy, but stuff like that happens. It's unfortunate. They used to call it black on black crime, but now some people seem to be very sensitive about that. However, what disturbs me most about it is this tendency of the press that is intensifying recently to make some people more important than other people when it comes to the value of their lives. So a whole lot of people get killed in South Central L.A., though they don't call it that anymore because the city council said, oh, my God, it has such a bad onus, we can't use the term South Central L.A. Now, when I grew up, it was not called South Central L.A. It was just L.A. After 1965, when they had the Watts uprising that some call the Watts riot, well, a few years after that, they got to designating the inner city black area South Central, but it's not really black anymore. The Hispanics have taken over a lot of it, so it is what it is. The population moved westward, and now the ballast for black areas is down Slauson, Western Avenue, and such like, but it's extended as far west as Crenshaw, and from, say, Florence on the south end down to, almost to Wilshire Boulevard on the north end. So it is what it is, but it's unfortunate the young man got shot. I understand that he was doing some stuff for the community, trying to help out and uplift it, but then, we don't have all this manhood that we need out in our communities, and these young guys just don't understand that if you're that aggrieved, go duke it out with somebody, have a fist fight in the back alley, but you don't go by and shoot somebody the way they're doing. I mean, that's not the way it's supposed to be done, but it's the way too many of us do it these days because of the lack of masculinity. So we suffer from it.
Now, it was interesting, people made well aware that he was part of the Rolling 60s Crips. And my understanding, you would know better than I do, the founder of the Crips, Raymond Washington, they did not believe in guns, right? They believe in fighting it out or using their fists.
No, I don't know about all of that. I don't know about that. See, let me say about the gang thing. There are two periods of black gang activity in Los Angeles. There was one up to the middle of the summer of 1965, and it stopped when we had the Watts uprising.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you a personal anecdote on that, but they had Slausons, Dell Vikings, businessmen, gangster disciples, no, not gangster disciples, really De La Soul, some stuff like that. They kind of disappeared. It's nobody was mad after 1965 August. Frustration was gone. LAPD got run out the hood for the next 18 months. After that August, I think there were only 2 black-on-black homicides, and that was boyfriend, girlfriend in one instance, and wife shooting husband in another. And the burglaries dropped to 0, robberies dropped to 0, assaults dropped to 0, rapes dropped to 0. The tension was out of the black community, and the police didn't go in there. So it was a new thing. It got corrupted, but that is indeed unfortunate. However, there was a thing that was developing. It just got to a point where you couldn't trust anybody, because you'd go and there'd be an organization and there are more FBI members or SIS Bureau of LAPD that were members of the organization, and then were earnest members. So everybody was being an informant. Not everybody, but you know, that was the thing. So they used some sophisticated methods to destroy what was going on with the black, well, the black tide, to get things together where black folk live. I'm black and I'm proud wasn't something James Brown invented. He just got on the wave that had already been started. I think got people proud of themselves instead of being ashamed for being black because they did not match the white imagery. I mean, reality was is that you so seldom saw black images that people had very negative concepts and very low self-esteem. You're seeing that again now with this tranny stuff, where they so badly hate what they are that they want to change genders, or some of their sycophants want to push this thing a fluid gender. That's why they like Michael, a.k.a. Michelle Jackson, so much. He was a black kid, and he hated himself so much, he tried to make himself white, had so much surgery on his face and nose that his nose got necrotic and had to be amputated. So for the last few years of his life in public appearances, he had a prosthesis that he had on, and he got his melanin cells destroyed by laser activity, so he looked white, and he had his hair replaced with some Polynesian hair that they had to peel his scalp back to thread through and not inside, and he had that happen every few months, and got himself so addicted to painkillers that he killed himself. So, you know, they like to make a role model, a poster child, the poster child for self-hate. They wanted to make a role model for black people in terms of not masculinity, but as he was androgynous for the suppressed masculinity that otherwise was out there. It's bad. So we've got some bad things that have developed. And what you saw in L.A. was just the tip of the iceberg, illustrating the lack of manhood inside the black community. It isn't just a black thing these days. There is a carefully calculated 50-year-long campaign with the objective of emasculating the country. I've said that over and over and over and over again. We just got a gay woman elected up in Chicago, and it supposedly was the lowest voter turnout in the last 60-some years of Chicago history. But they're taking everything over, and they wanted to get on a lot of people because they said something. Some people were getting on me because I said I think it is a bankrupt policy for the military to put women in combat units. I mean, women have more utility than being in combat units, and it does bad things for the social scene, because what happens in the military gets brought out into civilian life, and there is this thing about men protecting women women and children in a lifeboat first, but you can't have an effective military unit if everybody in the unit isn't subject to taking a bullet if necessary. So to put women in a context with men who will be conditioned to let them take the bullet instead of taking it for them is a very bad thing. When I was sitting on the criminal bench, 30 years ago, I began to notice the impact of such things as these video games where they had female avatars that the kids would all interchange with. The boys would play as the girls and girls would play as the boys. And when they do that, they start thinking that boys and girls are the same, which they're not, because we forget now that girls are weaker than boys, so boys should never hit them. So if they can fight it out on a video game and you've been conditioned by the propaganda you hear all of the time that they are the equal of man, then, you know, nothing's wrong with punching the girl if you get mad at her. And the boys are being conditioned to act on emotions rather than logic and reason, so they go off more easily than they used to. And when they beat on a woman, it's just what's to be expected. It's wrong, but that's one of the things that people don't want to look at when they start trying to assess these things. I keep going back to this thing about manhood because so much of what's wrong in our communities and in this country as a whole now, everything from the educational system to politics, has got to do with the concerted effort to emasculate the country. So, I mean, it's just what it is. It's not healthy. You got this transvestite thing, and they want to talk about fluid gender, but what strikes me about that is for the last 3.8 billion years, this planet has been evolving a setup where male and female get attracted to each other. And there are things that human males and human females do to appeal to each other and bind to each other. It's called courtship. It's called a feminine appearance that is appealing to men and a masculinity that's appealing to women. And right now, that's not what's going on. We've got so much out there that is bad when it comes to this, because you've got boys masquerading as girls. I don't care whether they can help it or not. These normal guys who wouldn't be interested in dealing with a man sexually, but they look at this and it looks like it's a girl, so they respond to it and then find out, whoa, it's not a girl, it's a guy, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's one thing if the person is a homosexual, that's their business, and some guy likes some other guy, or some girl likes some other girl, I mean, but you've got this one thing that people are propagandizing about where that's not what happens anymore. It's a boy looking like a girl, swishing like a girl, dressed like a girl, and instead of feathers and manes and stuff like that like animals have, it's the clothing that humans have adopted through culture, which has evolved in lockstep with the physiological evolution, and here you go. You got a mess. But people, you know, have this emotive thing where they wish something to happen, and they sometimes don't get it, that whether or not you wish it, there's this little, well, not little, but this big matter of what happens when something gets too dysfunctional is called extinction. And the rule on this planet is not survival, it's extinction. So we do a lot of stuff that is not healthy for us, and we don't understand that, and we keep doing it. because it appeals to our emotions. And that's part of this thing of the feminization of the country. It started 50 years ago where people were not taught, but there was a move afoot to get people to react on emotions rather than logic, because logic was the man thing. And what happened is men being logical, they would come up with all sorts of reasons to go to war. So rather than going to war, they should be taught to emote so they could cry and shout and let it all hang out, get upset, throw crockery and stuff like that instead of fighting it out. But that has led to that kind of thing you just saw in L.A., where instead of somebody aggrieved at somebody else and mano a mano, they duke it out someplace in a fair fight. You got to go play like his crazy dysfunctional mama who wanted to throw battery acid on a neighbor for looking at some guy 6 months after she broke up with him. So, I mean, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, ask me something, son. I'm
yeah, I mean, there's so much I mean, you're very relevant now, Judge. There's so much stuff going on. I'm just it's a couple things. Like, I want to ask you about the rapper case, because like the Eric Holder guy, the judge gave him a $5 million bail. He's more than likely not getting out of jail. But how do you think he got Chris Darden to represent him? I mean, where he get the resources for that?
Chris Darden?
Yeah, it's representing the guy who
let Christopher Darden represent my dog. Honest to goodness, in all of my years of practicing criminal law, sitting on the bench as a criminal judge, the performance Marsha Clark and Christopher Darden gave prosecuting OJ was one of the most disgraceful performances I've ever seen. It wasn't even incompetent. It was below that. As prosecutors, they did everything to mess their own case up. It was like they were working for OJ and were deliberately trying to so antagonize the jury that there was no way the state could get a conviction. Not that they deserved it, because they didn't have any evidence against OJ. It was incriminating other people, though, because of that sleazeball Nancy Grace, who was trying to break into Hollywood. We got a contrary story, but most people don't realize that reprobate scoundrel scallywag is the one that is the reason we got so much misinformation that has been adopted by the public. That's the danger of the wrong kind of person having access to influencing public opinion. Adolf Hitler, Goebbels, and the Nazis did that. Some communist states have had that happen, but North Korea, but I mean, it is what it is. So, it's crazy.
Wow. Well, let me ask you, like you said, you grew up in the Slauson area on Slauson Avenue, and I just got to ask you about, like you talk about L.A. Confidential as being, the movie is showing how, the reality of how police rule L.A. with an iron fist for decades. Like we talked about that a couple of times on the show. But what is the gang environment out like? I mean, like, I know you grew up in the area, but like, is the gang thing, like, is it portrayed correctly by the media, or is it over exaggerated?
It's worse.
Oh, it's worse. Okay.
See, when I was in elementary school, they still had dads at home.
Mm-hmm.
Dads worked. And I can remember elementary school, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, a little punk who was always crying with snot running down his nose, hollering about, I want my mama. And he didn't have a dad at home for the most part. And when he got in junior high school, 7th grade, he joined the Dell Vikings. And now he was a bad hombre with a posse to back him up and was going around trying to commit mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
And what we always saw was the guys that had dads, they didn't act like that. The guys that had a dad and maybe got killed in Korea or something, or who gotten rarely divorced, it didn't happen that much then. Well, they still had the idea, but, you know, it was the ones that had mamas that the ladies would classify as women of ill repute, who did all of the crazy gang banging stuff, as they call it now. So, as I said, it disappeared after summer '65 and resurrected itself again about the time that, well, Nixon got in office and J. Edgar and the boys started jacking the black community around on purpose. Certain somebody that I know or knew named Tookie Williams was an interesting young man when he was 11 and 12-year-old on a playground where I was one of the playground directors, volunteer playground director. He was a very smart young man, had a lot of promise, and myself and some of the other directors, we tried to get him out of the situation, but we couldn't undo what his mama was doing, and he couldn't get out of the swamp. So what he wound up doing was becoming baddest alligator in the swamp, and he wound up starting a gang himself. He wrote 6 children's books while he was sitting on death row, and they probably should have, commuted his sentence to life in penitentiary, but he wound up being the last person executed on California's death row some years ago. So it is what it is. It's not pleasant, but, you know, we are sometimes our own worst enemy. We had another somebody on the playground that made it too. They put his age up. You know him as the singer Barry White, but I remember him as a skinny little 13-year-old.
Oh, he was skinny. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's all kinds of things that, you know, you never can tell how they're going to work out because they are what they are.
Well, and what makes about the Tukey thing, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California, but it seems like they wanted to commute it, but he wouldn't confess to the crime. Like he said he did a lot of dirty things, but he didn't do that particular crime that he was on death row for. So does it speak to a type of integrity on his part?
Well, yeah, but you know, I remember him. He had character. I mean, he had principle. And I've run into some of the people that were adults working with that playground who ran into him later, and he'd have his gangsters out there acting as security, you know. So he had a good side. I mean, he got ruthless, sometimes vicious, but we were on, the playground was at a place called Trinity Avenue Elementary School, and it's probably, or was at one time, one of the worst in the whole LA system. It was not a nice place.
Wow.
But the playground director, the chief, was Cliff Stewart, who's still a friend of mine 50-some years later. We're homeboys. And there was another guy, now Dr. Chappelle. And those two were karate enthusiasts, and now both of them are great martial artists. And they started teaching me 50 years ago on martial arts, so I know a little myself. But we got the respect of the community, and every now and then somebody would show up with a bandage around his head and an arm and sling like, hey, man, what happened to you? Oh, well, messed up, man. Stomped at his head, come down here, man, and fouled you on the playground. All right, brother, we got you covered. We got something for you. We wound up showing movies, and for a while before we started showing movies, which we pulled off a trick so we could get them, there were no movie theaters in the hood, so every Wednesday we'd take 150 to 200 first through seventh graders downtown. We got some UCLA students to give them rides down there using UCLA university vehicles. So it would be three guys, me, Chappelle, and Stewart, and the three of us would have 200 kids in there, and they wouldn't utter a peep. But that's just the influence of masculinity on the situation. It kept the situation coherent and orderly. But to give an example, there was a woman we used to call Fanny. She was a student too. She had her girls, or the ladies, let's say, and they had this program they had. So they had maybe 9 or 10 kids. So the 11 or 12 women would go down with the 9 or 10 kids, and we didn't like them to come because they couldn't control the 9 or 10 kids. So when they lost control, that would start having a cascade effect on the other kids. So we'd have to jump in, and in spite of them getting angry about us jumping in, and exert control. So one of the things that's not going on is this kind of an intimidation factor. It's like the lion cub looks at daddy lion, and he's got big claws and long teeth, and he's a real formidable animal, and he's seen dad kill lunch. So he reacts accordingly. So when you throw that masculinity at the kid, they go, oh, I don't think I need to tangle with this little chump over here I might, but these guys, no, I better listen. Ain't no fool. But I was just reading the other day, I saw it online, it was an article. It was how to deal with problem kids who are about to drive you to pulling your hair out without raising your voice or trying to or even thinking about spanking them. I mean, I've been to places now where they've got unruly kids around and the parents sound like they're at a convention for child psychologists. William, don't you think that's a better way that you can handle this? William, you're upsetting your mother, William. You should find a more effective means of expressing yourself. No, just smack him on his behind once, and that cures the problem. You can explain later. But they don't get that.
Wow, but you talk about that, and it's like with this young brother, the rapper who got killed. I read somewhere his brother talked to the L.A. Times, and he said that, people said, why did nobody shoot back at the guy who shot his brother, was because he was known for hiring felons to work his stores. And, as a felon, you can't carry a gun. So This dude was allowed to shoot this guy several times. He made several trips back to the guy and shot him several times, including the last time when he shot the brother in the head. So his brother said, hey, so can we make the case, you think guns are a good thing then, to hell, to deter that type of stuff?
Let's put it this way. What I looked at on the video, he would have had, if not the opportunity to defend himself, he would have had the opportunity maybe of reducing the severity of his wounds and surviving.
Right.
There were 3 people that got shot. I looked at it, and the person was kind of clumsy and really did not look too capable with a firearm.
Right. But, people say it was like military precision. I said, he shot him at point blank range. If you couldn't hit nobody at point blank range, you just ain't, you know what I'm saying?
And basically what he did is he reached out and almost touched the person with the
gun. Right. Exactly.
He was doing some of that John Wick stuff, where he grabbed, bam, bam, with the muzzle up against the body of the victim, though that doesn't work with most semi-autos. It'll cause a malfunction, but, it's a fight, but it didn't need to go there. That was a shame because it should have just been mano a mano. Let's talk. If it's that bad, let's fight it out.
Yeah, but the guy, they said, like I read the brother account in L.A. Times, the guy was shaking his hand. They had a cordial talk. It wasn't like some people were saying there was an argument because they said the guy was an informant, and Nipsey was telling the guy, don't come around here because you're an informant. But Nipsey was going to talk to the LAPD the next day about trying to stop allegedly gang violence. So it's all kind of weird to me.
The guy was doing some good stuff in his neighborhood. That's commendable. It's very commendable. It's unfortunate he got killed because he's one of the few that took it upon himself to do something. But see, in L.A., you got to have all kinds of connections to get a handgun carry permit.
Wow.
It's legal to have it in your business, but I lived in Ventura County, so I had a permit. And once you get one in California, it's good throughout the whole state. So like it or not, the sheriff in Ventura County, where I lived when I was out there, he was progressive about it. So I had one. So when I went and visited the hood, you know, I was always strapped down.
Now, and it's interesting to me that this guy, like you said, he had connections. Like he had some interesting connections. It's like he would have been able to get a permit or something for him.
No, you don't. It ain't like that.
Okay.
I mean, there are people, I know a few people in L.A. One of them is always raising money for the police department, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's got he's a tailor. And he's got an upstairs scale tailoring business. But, you know, most people don't have one. Another homeboy I hung with, he had one. He acted as security, but he didn't get it in L.A. He got it in another county in California.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it don't happen in California. I think there are 3 counties where the sheriff issues permits on a regular basis, and that's about it. And they got all kinds of stupid laws in California now dealing with handguns. All kinds. They got some progressive law left over that the idiots haven't found out about. Been on the books for 100 years, but they even have a thing because the handgun carry permit's so bad that if you have a reasonable belief that you are in personal danger, you may carry a firearm even if you're otherwise not possessed of a permit. Now, I don't think they've changed that law in the last few years, but that's been on the books for a long time. And every now and then, if somebody gets busted with a firearm, and they say, well, you know, I was collecting insurance policy money, or, you know, I have to drop these deposits off. Well, yeah, you can get yourself robbed, so a judge would dismiss the charges and the person could get his peace back. That happens. And then there's this other thing about before somebody gets to the point of being searched, the police have to have some reasonable cause. And like I tell folk, you know, it's hard for a cop to justify talking about he had a suspicion of somebody in a business suit.
Mm-hmm.
But when you walking around looking like you ought to be pushing a grocery cart with lawn bags in it, looking tacky as you can be, well, you sort of leave yourself wide open to getting jacked up.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that you might be able to get away with carrying a gun if your life was in danger. Because they were saying last week with Nipsey that they was doing a video shoot. He was doing a video shoot with John Legend and this other guy named DJ Khaled. They had to hire 10 armed security guards to protect him on the video shoot in L.A.
No doubt.
So why would he be comfortable just walking around? I mean, if his life was in danger like that, he was getting these death threats, why would you think he would be comfortable while his bodyguard's on duty or not even having anything on him in the neighborhood like that?
Well, let's put it this way. The world is getting real stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, for example, you have a situation where they did this in England, where a few years ago they abolished the right to self-defense.
What? They did what they did in England.
Yeah, they said it was better for someone to suffer bodily harm or death than it was for them to fight back. Too longs don't make a right.
Wow.
Now, my understanding is that they have rescinded that, but that's how stupid people get.
I can't believe that.
We've got another stupid thing going right now where black people are all up in arms about They need to get rid of stand your ground. That's why Trayvon got shot. Well, that isn't why he got shot. The person that had the right to stand his ground was not Zimmerman. It was Trayvon Martin.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that lying Anderson Cooper, who's got a thing about guns, he's gay, so he hates them. Not all gays, I guess, hate them. I don't know, but most
I don't think all
seem to have a problem with them. He started pushing that stuff from the pulpit of CNN about stand your ground and castle doctrine, and it was very much false information deliberately delivered to the public to propagandize them for his particular philosophical position, which is anti-gun, because castle doctrine only applies inside of or next to a home on somebody's property, and that is not where Trayvon got shot, so that doesn't apply. And the stand your ground thing, well, there were less than 10 states that adopted something other than stand your ground, and they had a retreat doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tennessee has always had a no retreat, stand your ground state. In fact, the charge that was delivered to a jury in a murder trial, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, the defendant has raised the defense of self-defense, and if you find, et cetera, now the defendant had no requirement or obligation to retreat. He was entitled to stand his ground. Now, in states, the less than 10 states that had retreat, that meant that if you were attacked, you had to attempt to flee. But the problem with that was what if it was a guy with his wife, and what's he supposed to do? Run off and devil take the hindmost and leave his wife there, or his sick mother, or his sick father, or uncle, or aunt? You know, and they had stuff that to rationalize this nonsense. They charged the jury, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you find that the defendant made any effort of retreat, howsoever slight, such as raising one heel as though to shift his weight rearward in a fashion as though to remove himself, that will be sufficient. Oh, man, come on, you know? So stand your ground is a good thing. It means you don't have to run. But if you got a punk-ass idea about reality, oh, they got to run. Well, you know, you can't run fast enough to beat 800-900 feet per second. So you're dead, you know. If somebody knows how to shoot, running away isn't going to do you any good.
Now, let me ask you this, too, because I know I read the LA Times article with the brother of the rapper who got killed, and he was wondering to himself, was this some, like, gang stuff, or was this, like, a assassination? Like, was it, an execution with some other strings being pulled? Because, as you know, on Sunday on Slauson, it's very crowded and compact. So how was he able, or congested rather, how was he able to get away and stay away for almost over 2 days?
It's easy enough. Somebody's packing, there's gunfire, everybody's getting out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to play, well, there's not even a hero then, somebody's getting away. You know, you're not the cop, let them do that. So what's supposed to happen? You jump up, you're under arrest. Oh, bad move. Get yourself gunned down that way.
Well, what about the young lady who assisted him in getting away? She's not charged with anything.
She said she didn't realize that was going to happen. Now, I've run into that often enough with clients or in the courtroom to know that's sometimes a reality. Hey, man, drop me off. Yeah, man, okay, cool. Can you wait, man? I just want to go in and get a pack of some aspirin, man. I got a headache. All right, I'll be here.
Mm-hmm.
Come running back. Let's go, man. Got to book it, man. You know, hey, well, you know, what time it is, man. You know, no big deal. I just saw somebody I don't need to be around here looking at. Okay, cool. And you didn't know that there was gunfire.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. And then the other thing is a practical matter. the issue is, does the state want to get somebody for murder in the first degree and criminal attempt murder in the first degree, or do they want to get somebody for being an accessory? You need a witness. So do you want the person you're after for first degree murder to be the witness after the person that you would rather have is a witness to put the murderer on the scene?
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, because she did turn herself in on Monday, though. She did turn herself in the next day.
I mean, it's not like they do in the movies. See,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time on a homicide, unless there is somebody that is going to tell, or somebody that wasn't part of it, or somebody that runs their mouth off, they can't solve a murder usually. It takes a while,
Mm-hmm.
if they ever do. Murder is one of the most unsolved crimes going.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Very good reason why. The best witness is dead. Is a reality.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't work like they show it in the movies.
Yeah, cause I keep on thinking like Perry Mason, like people say, oh, like Law and Order. Let's say better yet, Law and Order. It gets solved in an hour. Everybody, dot your I's and cross your T's. It gets solved in an hour.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. They solve it in the hour. It's the damn thing's on.
Now, Judge, I got to ask you this, because you from L.A., you saw both sides of the law. I mean, you served on both sides. I mean, as far as criminal defense and also prosecutor.
I didn't do that in L.A.
Oh, but you grew up in L.A. though. But you was an activist on UCLA campus. You knew Bunty Carter, all them guys.
Neighborhood too.
You're right. I just want to get your opinion. I mean, like, you also was involved in the Dr. King's assassination case. You played a big role in that. And I just want to get your take. Do you believe, is it possible? All the things you've been through, your experiences in life and all this stuff, could it be possible that this guy was actually, it was a professional hit done on Nipsey? That he was taking
might have been.
Why you think that could have happened? Could that be a possibility?
I mean, it could have been, but I mean, I don't know. See, you're asking me to speculate, and one of the things I think the press has done badly to the citizenry over the last 60 years is to start this speculation process. What they need to do is, we are a news outlet. We will bring you the latest news, and we will return to our regular programming.
Well, it's 24 hour news cycle, though.
Wait and see what the hell happens.
But it got the 24-hour thing. The social media don't help either, because everybody got an opinion. You get to hear everybody's opinion now.
It started off with CNN, who had that 24/7 format, and quite frankly, there is not enough news to make it worth 24 hours a day unless there's a war going on. So they just got in the habit over the last 30 years of glorifying every damn thing with the semblance of importance, and they have slowly conditioned the public to being enthused about the talking heads speculating on what's going on.
Let me ask you this. You think that people, we're talking on the 51st anniversary of Dr. King's assassination, and it took decades for things to come together for it to be found in court of law that the government was complicit, elements of the government was complicit in the killing of Dr. King. Is it possible? I mean, do you think it's right for people to dismiss people who question the official story? Like some of the people on social media say, I don't know. I go along with the LAPD thing because I know the history of the LAPD, like the O.J. Simpson case. Like, black folks knew the history of the LAPD as it relates to the black community in L.A.
That's why O.J. got acquitted. And then one thing that the press has not done is 4 of the chief detectives on the O.J. case went to jail for falsifying evidence in other cases, and they had to let 128 people out of the California penitentiary because of that. It was called the Ramparts
Yes, sir.
precinct scandal.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest in the history of the country.
Yeah, but see, the press never brought that to the public's attention. In other words, maybe there was something to it. These guys all went to the penitentiary for falsifying and planting evidence.
So, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. I saw the press conference for Nipsey Hussle with the LAPD brass. They crying and stuff about they were going to meet with him on that Monday to discuss how to curb gang violence. But, just a few short years ago, they were harassing Nipsey and his people for selling tapes and stuff on the property without renting out the facility. I mean, it actually was confiscating their goods and harassing them and taking them to jail. So all of a sudden, he's friends with police.
That's another thing. There is a thriving business in L.A. of selling bootleg tapes and DVDs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Movies, you name it. I know places where I could send my chauffeur and he'd come back with any movie I wanted.
It's a hustling town, man. L.A.'s a hustler's town.
Yeah, it is.
But you don't think it's odd that the police would have this, considering the history of the LAPD with the black community, that they act like they had really a good relationship with this guy, this rapper, who's a former gang member.
They have always had, LA and otherwise, this thing where you have some intelligent officers and some that aren't bad.
Mm-hmm.
I know one guy, I've known him for years. He is retired now, but he used to be in charge of LAPD's gang squad.
Okay.
And he always was an intelligent person who did what was necessary to reduce tensions. I even had a first cousin that was a cop out in L.A. Haven't seen him for a long time. Spoke to him for the first time in 40-some years, but, it's what it is. Prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So you get people who want to do something about being a cure. You got people who don't care. I've seen cops pull up to 10 or 11 brothers standing on the corner waiting on a bus to go to work and say, hey, man, some of you guys want some of this? Come here. You want a piece of ass, man? Let's get it on. Yeah, you think you're bad? Can you take us? Like, what the hell's wrong with these fools? I've seen it.
Yes, sir. See, I remember some years ago, I think it's probably either 2000, I was reading a Jet magazine article. Y'all had a black police chief out there, right? Bernard Parks, what was his name?
Yep, he wound up on the city council.
Right, but I remember when his beautiful granddaughter got killed in the drive-by at Popeyes.
Yeah.
What was that about? They said they were trying to aim for her passenger, but I don't know. Was they trying to send him a message? Because it was doing the Rampart stuff, right?
No, I don't think they were sending one to him. It was just, it's dangerous being in L.A.
She was gorgeous, too. She was beautiful.
The block I grew up on in L.A., actually, it's more dangerous walking around that block while it's still daylight.
Wow.
Than it would be to be in uniform in downtown Baghdad in 2003.
Wow.
I mean, I can remember vividly when I was in junior high school, you just didn't walk around the corner. You'd sort of peep around to see if there was somebody there you didn't want to see.
And that's when you was growing up, right? This was not like in the 80s or not. This was when you was growing up.
Yeah, that's when I was growing up.
I mean, did they have a lot of gunplay back then, or wasn't there really much that gunplay? Just more
they had gunplay. I mean, it wasn't as bad then as it is now, but it was pretty much confined to gang stuff rather than just insane, everybody shoot everybody.
Wow.
Like it is now. See, they got a lot of people that hate themselves and they want to die because they don't have any purpose for living. And if they can provoke you into doing them the favor of taking their own life, then they've accomplished their purposes. But in the process of trying to provoke you, the provocation is such that they may take your life before you get provoked enough to take theirs.
Wow. It's like the kid that shot the guy, the rapper. It's like he had really nothing to lose. Like he was just on the bottom rung. And this guy had everything to live for. The Nipsey Russell guy.
Here's what it is. You see, that's why manhood is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you got manhood, when you look in the mirror, the control factor that keeps you in line is staring back at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, hey, did I do the right thing yesterday? Am I going to do the right thing today? Did I do something yesterday I shouldn't have done? And you get on your case and see, when times are bad, if you got manhood, what happens is that you take it in terms of, it may be bad for me, but I have obligations as a man. And even if it looks horrible, if I can't find daylight at the end of the tunnel, I'm going to still kick ass and plow through that tunnel filled with smoke, fire, and flames, and fire-breathing Gila monsters, because I got to protect those people I'm obligated to protect.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep on pushing. Whereas if you didn't have manhood, you just give up. And, you know, I'm 23, I won't see 24. That kind of stupid nonsense.
My thing is like, I think about him, and I know I got to ask your opinion. When I thought about this Nipsey Hussle character, I was aware of him when he was alive. I didn't really listen to his music like that, but I was aware of him. I didn't know all the good he was doing until he died, unfortunately. But he reminds me, you guys speak on this yourself, Judge, because you know better than I do. He reminds me a little bit of somebody like Bunchy Carter, who came from that same area, who was the leader of the Slossons. You knew well.
Yeah.
Try to, unite the gang.
I recruited Bunchy Carter to UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
Bunchy Carter, he'd gone to the penitentiary, and he taught himself to read, write, and stuff like that, and start writing poetry. So we wound up recruiting him to UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't read too well when he went in the pen, but he came out, and he was a good student.
Mm-hmm.
He got killed by people in the US organization, and the US organization had been composed mostly of ex-members of a gang known as the Businessmen.
Mm.
So somewhere about 1968, a lot of old Slossons were getting out of the penitentiary, and they became part of the Panther Party, 67 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And the Businessmen, they became part of Ron Karenga's US organization. Now, the thing that most people in L.A. would tell you is that grew up out there would say the US organization was snitches.
Mm.
Ron Karenga had an agreement with the FBI and the SIS unit, the LAPD, to snitch on the black community in return for some immunity for some of the stuff they were doing. It wasn't too cool.
Wow. But I know, just looking at interviews conducted with Geronimo Pratt, who was a Panther, as you know him too.
I recruited him.
But he believed to the dying day that the FBI, the government, had more to escalate the schism on rift between the Panthers and the US organization. The UCLA thing was the FBI involvement. They caused that to happen.
Well, the FBI had been promoting Ron Karenga.
Mm-hmm.
as a way to demoralize the black community. See, it got so bad with the US organization and some other entities that nobody could trust anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a community meeting and you try to get something done, and then the next thing you know, you're getting hauled up in front of the FBI and they want to interrogate you, and they're quoting to you verbatim something you said at the meeting.
Wow.
And there were us people there taking shorthand notes.
Wow.
So you go, okay, or others. So it got to the point where you couldn't trust anybody. And you can't have community unity if you can't get with your people to get unified, because you can't trust them.
Yeah, trust can never be overrated, man. Wow.
See, so it was not a good thing.
I mean, Judge, it's great talking to you because your insight, man. You live an extraordinary life, and like people need to hear this perspective because it was good to hear on social media. One good thing I liked was hearing people from LA's experiences, you know, with the gang culture, with LA culture, with the gangs, with the police out there. They was talking about what happened on Slauson that Sunday night because it disturbed me because, like, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well, there's more to it. See, one thing that the media hasn't picked up is let's drop back 12 years.
Okay.
On just about that same location on Western and Slauson, some pregnant girl was upset because some other girl supposedly looked at her boyfriend who didn't consider himself to be her boyfriend.
Okay.
So she got her posse together. The other girl got her posse together, and the fools were putting up posters on, well, little flyers on, they were nailing up to telephone poles talking about they were going to have it out at the parking lot of the business, which is right there where this took place.
Wow.
Very close to it. So they went in there and it was girls fighting it out, about 40 of them. And the pregnant girl got run over by somebody's car and killed, and somebody's other girl got shot.
Wow.
I mean, it's just not.
And he was all girls doing this, right? It was like an all-out girl fight, right?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
That's where I came up with the term girl-rillas.
Gorillas. That's wow. I never thought about that.
See,
Gorillas.
It's a thing that you have to take into consideration. It used to be guys would be getting real raunchy, you know, and then a woman walked in. Oh, man, hey, man, woman's in here. Well, ma'am, we apologize. We didn't mean for you to hear this. Now the woman walks in there, she's cussing and carrying on and acting a bigger fool than the guys are.
Wow.
And somebody's mama comes in, and the mama uses more MFs and B's and H's and when she talks than the guys do.
Yep. That's a different world, man.
Well, it's all part of that thing of emasculating the public. These things that you see are not manly. See, men have protocols, even when it comes to war, the Geneva Convention, rules of war, rules of engagement, you know, war crimes, mandatory 8-count in boxing, move to a neutral corner if there's a knockdown, you know, shake hands and come out good, clean fight, no hitting below the belt. A whole bunch of thousands worth of folk are trying to kill each other, and somebody waves a white flag, everything stops so they can parlay. Men have rules. But you see, when you feminize them, you get rid of the rules.
See, that's what people are saying, like the way whoever killed Nipsey, they didn't follow the rules of the game. They broke the code the way they did it. They made the block real hot. That was not the appropriate way to handle that. That's what people are saying. I don't know. I don't know the codes and all that. But I just want to ask you.
I don't think they really have a code these days.
Yeah.
What I hear is, oh man, why you do that? Look, man, do this the organization, man. Like, hey, he was ranking the game, man. Got a lot of cheddar to be made, gold to be won, ladies to be played, and he's sitting up there ranking one of the hoes, man. got her falling in love. Why don't you just punch it out with him? You look here, I earns my living sometimes with these hoes. You think I'm going to get scars on my face from fighting somebody? No, I'm going to bust the cap on his behind, you know?
Mm. Wow.
Yes, that's got too much mama in it, you know. Huh? You got too much of your mama in it. What you mean, my mama? I said, what you going to do about it? I'm talking about you. You can't do a damn thing. You sitting over there in the prisoner's docket. I'm on this bench. You know, my address is listed if you want to go send your homies by there. That's when they had the phone directory, you know. But, I mean, I need something to vent my frustration and release a little tension. Send some by. We can dance, you know, hey, ain't no problem. But you punk. You got too much of your mama in you.
Mm. Now, it's interesting. It's like he had a close relationship with his father. That, you know, he had family business with this guy. But also, I want to ask you this then, but the alleged shooter of the guy, they said that two of his family members were killed while they was looking for him. Is that's how they do things out there?
It happens. See, we sometimes are our own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And people always say, man, all the righteous brothers are doing time in the penitentiary. Hardly wait for them to get out so they can assume the leadership role. Now, you don't want that.
Mm.
See, these folk are not in the penitentiary for playing Robin Hood, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor.
Mm-hmm.
They were robbing the poor, raping the poor, selling poison to the poor, burglarizing the poor, jacking the poor, you know, all kinds of things to their neighbors.
And Judge, too, I got to ask you, man, it's been my mind because people kept on saying that, you know, you got to, you know, when you make it to a certain level, to a certain status in society, especially as a black person or a black man in particular, you got to leave the hood. You cannot have any connections with the hood. You can't live there no more. You don't even be hanging around the hood no more. What are your thoughts about that?
You can have connections, but it ain't cool to live there because I had a place here in Memphis over in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
But after getting burglarized the fifth or sixth time, I just got tired of it. I found myself leaving the windows open, waiting for somebody to walk in or climb in, and I got my pistol in my lap.
Wow.
You know?
But what does it say is like, when you talking about this is the hood or just the projects or this Section 8, and then the white folks, the white developers come knock it down and build like multi-million-dollar condominiums and business suites and stuff like that.
It's a two-edged sword. When they do that, the people they displace have to go somewhere. So what these same developers do is go find a place where they got $600,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million homes, and come up with something that tears the neighborhood down, like putting in a big 840-unit apartment complex for moderate and low income and Section 8 housing, and destroy the upscale neighborhood so they can bring in the people who were displaced through gentrification.
Yes, sir.
And worry about re-gentrifying the area some years later.
Oh, man, this is a game, man. It's bullshit.
It's a game. Oh, man. The way to stop that nonsense is to have astute and effective city planning. But we don't have it here because the name of the game in Memphis is crooked. This is probably the most corrupt place for its size in America.